Hello, everyone. I'm here with Andrew Stokich. He is the CEO and the co-founder of Logo Cinema. And, we at Symbolic World, we've been really watching them for a little while, exchanging with them, talking with them. And we're really excited about the project that they're putting forth. And we definitely want to get behind it as much as we can because as you know, we love a beauty first approach. We love the importance of having excellence out in culture from a Christian point of view. And so, Andrew, thanks for talking to me.
Jonathan, thank you for having me on the podcast.
So this is, maybe you can tell people a little bit about what the project is and like where it comes from.
Yeah, so Logo Cinema really started around 2 years ago with me and one of my really good friends, who's also now my daughter's godfather. Um, we've been filmmakers for 15 years. Didn't want to go down the traditional Hollywood route for all the obvious reasons. Hollywood is not necessarily the best place for most people, but we also wanted to tell narrative stories. And after getting a potential break to maybe produce something in the traditional Hollywood realm, it ultimately fell through. I came home one evening very frustrated, ended up watching Man of God by Yelena Popovich and becoming very interested in the process it took her to make Man of God. And I really studied the self-distribution model that she applied. And I said, I wonder if there's an Orthodox streaming service.
Mm.
And that's where this whole thing began. It took 6 months of research, and Zach and I discovered that there was no platform like that. There's some, I would say competitors wise, would be like Angel Studios is the closest
Mm-hmm.
to us, but nothing that had the essence of orthodoxy, that deep understanding of beauty and symbolism within it. And so it makes it really hard to approach uh, other studios. And I said, if myself and Zach are feeling this, there's probably thousands of filmmakers, if not at least hundreds, if not thousands of filmmakers who are experiencing the same thing and have incredible stories to tell.
Mm-hmm.
So then we hit the ground, started doing the most boring part, doing the paperwork and the research to first prove ourselves wrong, um, and then B, does it make even any sense to do it? Uh, and after a whole year of doing some heavy reading, we came to the conclusion that it was feasible and is something that we should do. And we, at the behest of a mentor of mine, he told me to start the social media pages and just see what the interest was like. And within 2 weeks, we went from 0 followers to over 3,000 followers, which was, we hadn't put out anything but just little snippets of
Yeah.
stuff we had shot over the past couple years on our own independently. We didn't have any rights to any of the major films or anything like that we were able to acquire that are now currently on the platform. But it was surprising how quickly it grew. And I think a lot of that had to do with people wanting to see actual beauty and a more deep exploration of symbolism within Christian storytelling. And that's missing here in the West. Most Christian films, Zach and I call them Hallmark style. It's very, very straightforward. And that's usually kind of turns people off, I would say. And so that's where we started. We actually launched on Pascha of this year, and we really wanted to launch on Pascha for the symbolism
Yeah.
side of things. Like, it was new beginnings, right? It was Christ is resurrected from the dead. Let's resurrect the visual storytelling of filmmaking.
Wow. So this is what's important for people to understand, that this is not a project in the future, folks. It's live now. It's there. You can go and you can subscribe to Logo Cinema. And so tell people what it is you're trying to pull in here. Like what kind of things are you wanting to put in front of people so they can see it?
Yeah, so right now we have a bunch of Orthodox saint stories that are on there, documentaries and series, TV shows, kids content. It's essentially supposed to be a hub. We say it's like the Orthodox Netflix. That's what we say. And our goal in the future is to not just tell saint stories or anything like that, those are great. I kind of consider that the low hanging fruit,
Hmm.
though, because it's already written for you. What I think would be very fascinating and more enriching for people is stories told through like the phronema of Christianity in a way that really looks at the beauty rather than just the simplistic nature that I think we see in most Western Christian films. And Orthodoxy has that understanding of visual symbolism. And so I feel like a lot of the creators that we've been able to talk to are already starting to grasp that fact, and starting to develop unique ideas around that.
So now, right now, I see there are a lot of the saint stories. There's some podcasts on there. There's different things kind of pulling the Orthodox content together. There's some sermons. There's just a whole bunch of things, documentaries on monasteries, all of that. And so, are there, how can I say this? Like, what are some of the Orthodox fiction stories that you like? For example, like, I mean, obviously you have to negotiate all these rights or whatever, but like, what are
Yeah.
some movies that you feel have been powerful and beautiful in the past decade?
The one that I would say that's on the platform currently right now is Across in the Desert, which is about St. Petroskeva. It is beautifully done. And it's not your traditional biopic style film. It is very much narrative driven, and
Mm,
it is shot beautifully. Funny enough, we were looking at camera gear to start outfitting our teams, and we were considering between like Black Magic or Red Cinema cameras, which Red is kind of the go-to within the industry. And I saw the poster of Across in the Desert was on Red's website. So it's like there's people already making content like this and doing
mm,
so at that scale. Uh, One film that I would love to get is called The Invisible Fight. It
mhm,
is from Estonia. It is about a holy fool, but it's set during the Cold War in Russia, technically. And if you take heavy metal, Jackie Chan, 1960s, 70s, like uh, I like that almost grindhouse film style,
yeah, yeah,
uh, and throw Orthodox monks in it. I've watched the film. It's probably one of the best films I've seen in the past decade, and it's very hard to find. Um, and it's hilarious. So that's a plug for them. We don't have them on the platform yet, but we're in conversations to hopefully get that sometime soon. But yeah, you bring up a really good point there too, Jonathan. We're not just like YouTube where people can upload content just to upload it, and they maybe have like their certain niche. We are more like Netflix in that style where there are legal agreements that come into place. We want to make sure that the creators are being financially rewarded for their efforts because, like a lot of people don't like to talk about money when it comes to anything within the church. But if you want to create films and TV shows and everything, it's very expensive to do
mm,
so. And YouTube is not necessarily the long-term solution for that. During our research, we found the average YouTuber, once they're monetized, ends up getting around half a penny per view is what it ends up being. And it can range higher or lower. We know one of our uh, clergy advisors. He has a YouTube channel. He got over like 20,000 views and was getting $12 from
yeah.
YouTube. Like you can't. That's not sustainable. Like over the long period of time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people think I often people asking me, Jonathan, how can I also like make a living on YouTube? I'm like, do you think I make a living on YouTube? Are you crazy? It's like
Yeah, no.
you need millions.
Unless you're Mr. Beast,
Yeah,
right?
you
Like, and
need millions of views to make a living on YouTube because, even though you could put out something all the time, unless, I mean, people get super chats, like there's all these ways you could try to get to go around it, but it's very, very difficult to make money off of these kinds of things. Yeah, for sure. Um,
Yeah, so we figured it was good to have a place that would be able to support and make help people make a living, but also like spread the message of Christ. And we even have a few films that have, I would say, like an Orthodox phronema, but they're not. made by Orthodox Christians. I think there's
Hmm.
one or two films that we got that we were super impressed with that came from Protestants
Hmm.
that ended up on there. But like after we watched them, we sent them to our clergy advisory board, and they're like, yeah, this gets the message. Like
Right.
it's 100%. And so we're not necessarily like against that, but we definitely want to have like that fullness
Mm.
within it. We don't want Hallmark style Christian films on the platform.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that that is, hopefully that is something that we can develop more and more, with our entire history, even in terms of people obviously like Dostoevsky, but now even contemporary writers like Vodolazkin, we have some examples, or even Martin Shaw's new book, Journey to Reality.
Yeah.
Like we have examples of a kind of deep beauty and a deep participative sense that we can bring to culture, and that isn't moralizing in the same way that a lot of the Hallmark type Christian movies are. Um, and I think that's one of the issues, is that one of the problems that's happened in a lot of modern is that it's a lot of modern kind of Christian media is that it's reduced to two things. One is evangelizing and the second is moralizing, right? And these
Uh-huh.
are the two things that when I look at the deepest of the Orthodox art that's being made right now, that's not what's going on. Like there's something else, like a deeper participation.
Yeah, I agree. And that's early on, like the Symbolic World was the first conference we went to as a company. And we knew from the very beginning. I think I even told you when I was there, like your journey of writing like God's Dog was something that inspired us to do something like this
Mm,
because I love the entire thought process on Saint Christopher. I think it is fantastic. And I could totally see when I read the graphic novel this as like a film. And the hard part is who's going to produce it? Where is it going to go? Like those are the questions that get asked when you start, like you may have a great idea, but when you need to make it, you need to go to like some type of investor and they're going to ask those questions.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so now to have a platform that really wants to explore those themes and really get deeper into that artistry, um, it opens doors. And so it was really cool to be at Symbolic World and meet like not just Orthodox Christians there. That's one thing that I found really cool was that like at the Symbolic World Summit, there was a multiplicity of different voices and like, but there was a unity there, like a good unity.
Mm,
And we spoke to multiple people uh, who don't come from an Orthodox background, who really love the idea of what we're trying to do with Logos. And we're only 2 months in. Like it's only been since April 12th. So yeah, we just passed 2 months looking at the date. So there's a lot of great movement on coming through, and it's like you mentioned, it's already live. So like there's stuff on there. And the majority of like the subscription goes back to funding these projects because there
mhm.
isn't enough capital to fund more projects. So we have to be able to build a foundation is what I say to be able to put more out into the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that there's also this it's just like a funny movement that's going on right now with like Deacon Seraphim, obviously Deacon Seraphim and myself, but also like I said, Martin, and there's I talked to the Sword and Pencil guy today, Josh Nadeau, who's kind of like in that movement where there's really this weird sense that in some ways, because the West and a lot of the more progressive elements of the West, they don't want those stories anymore. Even like
Yeah.
the Western stories, the stories that aren't Eastern, that aren't from the
Hmm.
Orthodox Church directly, they're from the medieval West or whatever. People don't want them, and we're like, hey, you know what? We'll have them. We'll take them. Like, well,
Yeah.
if you drop them if you want, that's fine. Like, we'll take the fairy tales. We'll take the myths. We'll take the legends. All of that. Like, just pile it on. Just drop it. And so, to me, that's also like a really exciting thing that's happening. And that's why it's very odd to feel as if that although that what Tolkien and Lewis did, in the 50s from the kind of Anglo-Catholic point of view, I can see this kind of continuing now, and a lot of the voices, not all of them, but a lot of the voices are definitely Orthodox because of our love of these of beauty and of the deep stories of the past. So I'm really excited to see, how far you can go with this. Because man, I would also love to see like an animated version of God's Dog or whatever. I mean, the thing is that now, because we wrote that as a movie at the outset, so it was
Yeah.
actually held back, it was kind of tamed back, the whole script. But now that we're doing it as graphic novels, like by the time you get to the end and you have like Amazons and demons and Leviathan and just like the entire cosmos, it's going to get more and more difficult to make it into anything else than a graphic novel. But hey, I would love to see that happen. I'd love to see that happen.
Like Lewis and Tolkien, that's actually like when we start talking about the types of films that we like to see in the future on Logos, we use Tolkien and Lewis as our
Mm,
framework, because they get it. Like they come from that deeper understanding of storytelling, and it's approachable, right? Like to anyone,
mm,
even if you're not Christian, you've probably read The Lord of the Rings or the Chronicles of Narnia, and it left an impact on you. And
mm,
that's, in my opinion, that's the real like power of Christian storytelling when you can nail that. And we need to get back to that. And the West has forgotten the hero's journey entirely.
yeah.
Like we've kind of like abandoned the thing that worked for 2000 years just for uh, who knows what reason. But we don't tell those stories. And when you do see a film that really follows that, it's so refreshing. Um, I can remember the day that I felt that there was a shift was really for me after the Revenge of the Sith came out back
Hmm.
in 2003. I remember leaving the theater. I was probably, let's see, I would have been 12 years old at that time. But I remember saying, I don't think there's going to be any other films like this anymore. I don't know why feel that way, but like for a long time, it's going to be a desert.
Yeah.
And there is this energy. Every creator I've spoken to, I've actually spoken to filmmakers across the entire globe at this point.
Mm,
That was the majority of our time from the fall when we launched our social media pages to launching. I think we had over like 200 plus meetings with creators from almost, I think, every continent at this point,
wow.
even in Asia as well. So like we've hit every continent minus Antarctica for obvious reasons. Uh, but it has been
It's
really
an ice
cool to
wall,
talk
right?
to.
That's why you missed Antarctica, right? Because
What was that? Sorry.
it's an ice wall. That's why you missed
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen Disclosure Day yet. They might
Yeah,
disclose
yeah.
that, and that.
Don't worry, all right. Yeah, I'm actually
So
going to a Orthodox Cinema conference in Romania this year. I'm going to speak there, and I think it's in November. And so, like you said, it feels like and Vatopedi is getting involved in trying to kind of get, filmmakers to make movies about the saints. And we have Yelena and we have El Santo por Cristo here in America. So it just, yeah, I feel like you guys are right at the right time to kind of to get that going.
yeah, and I think you and Dr. Peterson were you sensed that early, like in the late like 2016-ish. Like that's where that shift started to like come into play. And it's very fascinating the timeline. Like when you go and you look at all of that change and i- now it's everyone unifying together. And that's I think I know I already said this point, but like being at the Symbolic World Conference, you could feel it. Like it was tangible.
Mm.
Um, and now we're getting the tools necessary to do that work. Not just like a few people here or there, but everyone can participate. And it's really building the way we've talked about it to a lot of people is building an infrastructure that is been destroyed. And we need to rebuild it to be able to spread that message.
Yeah, yeah, cool. And so for people also who are curious, we've decided at Symbolic World to start kind of working with Logo Cinema. The first thing we're doing is we're basically bunching up a lot of the videos that are more religious, that have more of an emphasis on scripture, or on icons, or on liturgy. kind of bundling them together so they'd be available on the platform, plus a lot of the patron only videos that dealt with those subjects that, if you've been watching my YouTube channel, maybe you haven't seen because they're behind the paywall. And so we're kind of putting that up also with Logo Cinema. And it's just the beginning. Obviously we want to go along with you, see how everything is moving, see how things are advancing, and hopefully we can partner more and more as this grows.
Yeah, and it has been growing is what it's been doing. So since we launched 2 months in, we're already at 1,400 subscribers, like paying
Wow.
subscribers. We don't have any free subscription level. And I've had some people ask me like, well, why don't you do a free trial? Why don't you do this? And it goes back to that we're paying out our creators royalties on the views
Yeah.
that they get, and so that may make it grow slowly, but like in 2 months, I think we had projected it was going to be like 500 people in the first month,
Mm.
and we like completely like blew past that really quickly. And like from an organizational, like how do you run a business standpoint, we had put that against like a really large marketing budget, and it's all been just word of mouth. We haven't
Wow.
had to like do any paid ads yet, but we really believe that it needs to be community driven. And we even are looking into the future now that we have the applications, and actually now that we're having this conversation today, some exciting stuff. We haven't made it like fully public yet. We're going to make a public announcement on our social media, but the iOS, the Apple TV OS, the Android, and the Android TV applications, the native applications are live. So you can actually watch
What
on
did
your
you
television set.
Oh, that's amazing. That's wonderful. All right. Well, now you guys have nothing, you have no excuse not to go up and sign up, at least try it, at least see what it looks like. If it's only to kind of encourage at the outset, this amazing project. But I know that, once you sign up, it'll be more than just trying to encourage it, but you'll appreciate it. And, even for parents, obviously this is always the problem. Like the idea that you can have a platform that you have that's available, and you don't have to worry about what's on there. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to second guess. You don't have to second check what the young people are watching. And so here is definitely something that's easy, and even for parishes, for their Sunday schools, for their adult schools, all of this, I think, is kind of pulling everything together in a way. And so yeah. And if you are also like an Orthodox creator out there and you haven't heard about this project, I would say to reach out to Logo Cinema, to start the conversation. And we need to bring in all the best. Obviously, just good stuff, though.
Yeah.
Just want good stuff.
Well, and we're also set up to like help mentor people.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be where I am today, nor my co-founder Zach, without mentorship. And so even if you're a young creator, we plan on like getting you in contact with a bunch of people who can help you learn and develop your skills. That's part of our long-term vision of it. Um, I even through this process, I've been able to develop a whole bunch of mentors that have really taught me what it's like to run a startup, which I have never done before. Like anything prior to this, like it was always I would go find a client, film some videos for them, and that was it. Totally different world than
Mm.
trying to build like an actual system. And so like we want to give back to that community, and community is a really big part. And the reason why I mentioned the apps is like that's just the beginning. We are planning on figuring out how do we reclaim like the community space to being able to watch these stories.
Hmm.
And I've had some really great conversations with Josh and Jessica Jordan of El Tanto por Cristo, because I think they are onto something with their roadshow. But how do we make it easier? Because that's one thing after talking to them, they were
Mm.
just like, it
Exhaust.
is tiring. Yeah, like, right? They've been all over the world, but how do we make it simpler for them, and how do we reclaim those spaces? And maybe it isn't just going to the traditional multiplex theater house experience. I think it needs to be an event. It needs to be something that you go out to. I remember my grandparents, they didn't have multiplexes. You went to the single screen theater, and it was an evening out. It was a
Yeah.
special thing to do.
And you even, like, I'm kind of scrolling through some of your content here, and you have Queen of the Night by Durga Robbins, which
Yes.
is it's close to my heart for sure. I'm really excited, happy that you're partnering with them.
Yeah, Neil of Dirt Poor Robins. That's actually, I think, how we even first had a conversation with you. Was
Oh, through Neil.
Neil was I had met two Morphs who did the album that of your that you from one of your talks, and he and I had become friends. Actually, when we were at Symbolic World, I was talking about this. I was like, how funny. I had found that album on Apple Music just randomly, started listening to it. It was the zombie apocalypse
Yeah,
talk,
okay.
and then he did a couple other songs with you and Dr. Peterson, and there was one about Christmas. And I had just gotten married, and I filmed my wife and I's like setting up the Christmas tree, like our first Christmas type of deal. And I chose that song for it, and I tagged two Morphs in it, and had never met him. I didn't even think he would like
Mm.
respond, but he did. And then we found out we became great friends, and we started working on other like little film projects here or there. And when I told him about Logo Cinema, he's like, "You got to talk to Neil. Talk to Neil." Neil was like, "This is incredible. Let me put you in touch with this person, this person, this person." And I think you were like number three, Jonathan. He's like, "You need to talk to Jonathan about this." He's like, "He's really busy, but he needs to hear about this." And that was, I think we talked December. That was the first time you and I spoke, was in December, when it was still like, how is this going to come into fruition? And it was really by the grace of God from December to Pascha that we like were able to pull it off.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing that you're able to pull it off. So really congratulations, and really we can just pray that God will guide you guys and help make this fruitful. So everyone, this is your chance. Go try, at least try it out. Go to Logo Cinema. Check out everything. Sacred Alaska is there, which is, I saw Sacred Alaska in BC. Amazing story. There's just a lot of great stuff. So yeah, so
Yeah,
thanks everyone for your attention. And Andrew,
thank
we
you.
wish you the best, and we'll definitely catch up with you. I'm sure we'll catch up with you soon and see how everything's going.
Yeah, and actually, last thing I will say, Jonathan, is the Symbolic World subscribers and anyone who is at the summit, there's a special link only for Symbolic World. So it gets you 10% off. And then for either monthly or for the whole year. So, like, if you sign up for the whole year, it's actually 27% off. Like, there
Wow.
is no other. You all are the only ones who have that special discount. We haven't extended that to anyone else.
Well, thank you. That's great. All right. And so it's good to talk to you. Sign up, folks, and we'll talk to you very soon.